Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. You know what? The weather is getting a little bit nicer and I thought I would take some time to sit down with you guys and talk about the hair that stuck to my lip. Just kidding. So I thought I would take a few minutes to sit down and talk to you guys about my favorite palettes coming into spring and summer. So these are all things that I always find myself reaching for when I want to get that like spring or summer vibe. I'm doing both right now. I may do a summer specific one later in the season, but the weather is slowly getting nicer. We are melting the snow. There is almost nothing left where I'm at, and that's pretty sweet, even though like 2 days ago we had a snowstorm. So these are in no specific order, and I'm going to just talk about my feelings on them and why I like them for summer. Some of these are old, some of these are new, some of these are still available, some of them are not. So keep that in mind. On my channel, I do talk about limited edition items. I do talk about discontinued items. Just because they are no longer available doesn't mean that people immediately threw them out when they were no longer available. So hopefully this inspires you to reach for some things that you may already have in your collection and already spent your money on. So the first one I want to talk about is the KathleenLights and ColourPop Dream Street palette. So it's not the summariest looking palette, but I found last year and late into the fall season, as well as like really deep into summer, especially if I was going out at night, I was heavily reaching for the dark green and some of these lighter browns here. So this was kind of my nighttime palette where I would go for like a really deep forest green and put a little bit of glitter on the top and kind of go out and party my ass off. And by party my ass out, I mean drink wine with my friends with children. A lot of people do see this as more of a fall palette. I personally don't. There are so many beautiful shimmers in it, and I really love the greens for the summer because to me summer means like green, and we have all these hedges in the backyard and they're so like deep and dark and just like look so lush, and I'm being weird about the hedges, but they just remind me of the hedges in the summer. So when we are getting into the spring, I do reach for this palette and really like this palette to kind of back me up, because when I personally am moving into spring, I actually have to do a ton of gardening. So we have a ton of gardens, so I don't have a ton of time for stuff when we're first transitioning seasons, because we have so much work to do outside. We have to clean up the gardens, we have to clean up the backyard. Every spring we have to reseed the entire backyard because the way our backyard is graded, the dogs rip up the grass and we try and keep on top of that. We also have to take care of the pond and just a bunch of stuff we don't have to take care of in the winter. So in the early spring, I don't have a ton of time to actually go and like sit and really do very complicated looks. So the Lime Crime Venus Extra Small Rose Gold is really beautiful and a really easy palette for me to use in this season. So I'm not gonna swatch all of these because goddamn, that will take me forever. But I will swatch just this one because there's only 4 shades. But these shades are really beautiful, and they're very low effort. They blend together very nicely and really just let you go about your day. People seem to forget, and myself included, about quads and singles. So these are actually very helpful and typically are curated so your life can be easier and you can get through your eyeshadow faster while still getting a really nice look. So I really like this for the spring. I truthfully would be very surprised if anybody didn't expect this palette to be in here. This is the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival. So this one is no longer available, but this is what it looks like. This is a great palette for the like deep summer. So this was put out for the music festivals last year. They just released a new variation of it now, which I will pop up here. I personally prefer this one and will not be picking up the new one. I really liked this for the ability to do a lot of bright looks while also being able to do a lot of neutral looks. So I was typically leaving this, like, this is like my August palette. I'm leaving this on my vanity in deep summer so that I can have all of the shades I want while still being able to like do neutral for work, but bright for when I'm at home, or bright for when I'm at work because I don't care about that. This was a very good palette. I hope they re-release it even though it's limited edition. I do know a lot of people felt like this and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette were kind of similar. So that is something to keep in mind because there are some similar shades in here. Not identical, obviously, but definitely similar. So moving on from the BH Festival, we will talk about the Riviera palette. So for obvious reasons, this gives me summer vibes, and it wouldn't be a Candace video if I didn't drop the brush out of the palette while I was talking about it. I have a video up with my thoughts on this palette already. I have done a look with every shade except for Yacht, which is this shade here, and I am still kind of testing this out. I definitely like it. I like it more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to be just another Brights palette, but when I did my initial look, which was the one I did in that video where I used a lot of the blues and the purples, I did another look with some of the pinks, and then I did another look very recently with the yellows and the browns, and truthfully, the yellow and the brown look was my favorite. It came out so beautifully. I wish I took a picture. This is definitely still available. You can buy it on Sephora. So this one, if you're looking for a like really nice summer palette, I really recommend this guy. If you are a fan of declutters, I know you've definitely seen this one go out of many people's collections, and this is the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. So this one looks not exciting at all, but this is a palette I reach for all the time in summer. So my go-to summer look with this is to mix Just Peachy and Candied Peach on my lid and using a variation of Puree and Summer Yum in my crease. It's a very simple look. I get lots of compliments when I wear it. I feel like a lot of people don't reach for Candied Peach, which is this glitter shade here. It's this like light peach and glitter, but it is a nice soft look for summer. So if you're just going out quickly and you want something to punch up your look, but not necessarily something that's going to scream, holy shit, there's glitter all over your face, this is a nice palette to do that. Also, it smells like peaches, and peaches remind me of summer. Another one that is no longer available is the Tarte Make Believe in Your Selfie, but I know a lot of people have this in their collection still, so I am going to talk about it because I personally really like it. I know a few people have also done pan that palettes with this and been very successful with that, and it's on a lot of people's favorites. So hey Tarte, if you're listening, this may be one you want to re-release. This one I really like for the ability to punch up any other look you're doing. So if you only have a few basics in your collection and you have this, this can basically give you a shimmer color look for any look you're going for, and it's very multi-use. Also, for people who are not super comfortable with incorporating color into their look, this is a really good way to do it because it's not super aggressive. It just gives that nice sheen of color. So this one I think is really great for spring when you're starting to transition into some of your more fun looks. If you are one of those people who do that, I'm kind of like color all year round, but obviously in spring and summer, it's slightly more acceptable. All right, we are at palette number 7, and this is the Urban Decay Born to Run. So this one also reminds me of summer, probably because it came out last summer, but I feel the same way about this as I feel about the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette. This gives the ability to do a lot of colorful looks while also doing a lot of neutral looks. So when I did my review on this, I actually compared it to the Alamar palette, which almost made it into this list, and I chose the Born to Run instead because it has more options. I will link my full review of this below so you can see it, and I will try and get as many of the reviews for these palettes that I have out for sure. I definitely was really loving this at the time. I haven't used it too much in the last few months, and I will probably pull this out to use because I do really love it. You can get really dark looks, you can get really light looks, you can get lots of colored looks. It's a really great palette for variation, and when I see this palette and all the pictures on it, I just think of like travel and taking vacations and road trips in the summer, and sometimes it's not about the shades in the palette, it's just the vibe it gives me. So earlier we talked about the Venus Extra Small, so I also wanted to mention the Huda Beauty New Nudes palette. So I'm not going to fold this one back because it breaks it. So I did kind of pick this one up on a whim. I had no intention of doing so, but it really reminds me of spring and like the flowers coming out and Easter and all the Easter egg colors, because a lot of them are like baby pinks, and I feel like if I had to pick a color story for spring, it's definitely like pastelish or like not even pastelish, but like deep pastels. And this reminds me a lot of like deep pastel pinks and purples. This is like my Easter type palette, so I'm really digging this for the springtime as well. And if you want to punch up your look at night, it definitely has those dark colors as well. Okay, we are down to the last two, and obviously I had to include the Violet Voss Flamingo. I believe this is still available. If it's not, I digress. I will actually link every palette that is still available down below if I can find them. This guy was one of my absolute favorites last year. I used this probably the second most of any palette I owned last year. The Pat McGrath Mothership 5 actually won the most used palette of the year, but this one was a close second. I have a very significant dip in a Tidal Wave, which is this blue shade here. I was using this like crazy, and this is the first Violet Voss palette that I truly like really liked. Like, I have the Holy Grail, I have Drenched Metals, and I have one of the Macaroon palettes. And this one is just a different formula and really makes me get those summer vibes. It's like beach vibes. If I was going on vacation, which I will be eventually, I would definitely take this with me. I don't typically take makeup on vacation with me, but last time I went, I kind of missed it, so I think I will in the future. This one definitely was outside of Violet Voss's kind of comfort zone. Even with Drenched Metals, although it was like a colorful palette, this one just was in a league of its own with all of these brights. So last but not least, and this one is kind of a catch-all for those of you who don't have a ton in your collection, and as I say every single damn time, I am not a Morphe affiliate. They don't pay me shit. I don't have a code. I just feel like some of their products are actually worth it, and I don't even actually like the person who collaborated with this that much. Like, I don't personally watch him. It's not fair to say I don't like him. I don't know him. I'm sure he's a wonderful human. He seems like a good dude. But this is the Morphe and James Charles palette. So it is very large. But if you like to kind of have a catch-all palette and you want to do those bright looks for summer and you want to do those like Easter type colors for spring, this definitely covers all your bases. I really like this. It's got deep shades on this side, sorry, for all of your nighttime needs. It's got lots of tropical shades on the bottom, your neutral shades through the middle. If you want just like that easy wash of color that I talked about when you have other things to do than fuss with your makeup, or you're just heading to the beach, you can throw a shimmer on your lid and you are covered. And basically, if you have this guy, you don't really need many of the other ones I talked about. Truthfully, you don't need any of these. These are just my personal recommendations for the top 10 palettes of spring and summer. But this one is definitely the absolute catch-all. I hope you enjoyed these picks. Let me know what your top palettes are for summer and what you reach for the most in the spring. I'm really excited for the warm weather to come back for some reason this year. Normally, I'm not truthfully bothered much by the weather, but damn, I am so ready for winter to go away this year, and I am going to start busting out all of these palettes on the regular. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed and have an excellent week.